Hey guys, welcome to the Pretty Tough Podcast. I'm your host, Hailey Corona, and I am so excited about the guest that we have on here today. For our very first podcast, she's an amazing wrestler, an amazing coach. She's been there, done that. She's also a mom, and she's one of my really good friends, Lauren Mason. Thanks so much for being here, girl.
Mhm.
I'm so excited to have you. When I've been thinking about doing this podcast, you're somebody that has just been right at the front of my brain as somebody that I want to have on because you've been doing it for such a long time. Like you started at such a young age, you've wrestled at the highest levels, you're now a
Mhm.
coach, like you have so much to give. So I'm really excited to hear about your story and kind of get into that. But before we do, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody, or I'm going to ask everybody on the podcast, and that is, what is your best piece of advice that you could give to, excuse me, a girl wrestler?
That's a good one. I would say find joy, find fun, find good things in the process of getting better, because if we only focus on our wins and losses and things like that, it kind of sucks when you lose. And
Right.
then if whatever happens, or if you get injured or whatever it may be, I don't think that is where the joy of wrestling comes. I think the
For
joy
sure.
comes from finding fun friends, right?
Right.
Traveling places, experiencing new things, and in the sense of wrestling is like finally getting a move that you've been working on for however
Yes.
long, right?
Right.
Or just having something click. I'm sure you've had moments like that where you're like, I have heard this probably millions of times, but
Yeah.
because you said it to me at
Right.
this moment, it finally clicks and I
Yep.
understand and I can feel myself getting better. So
100%.
I definitely found that I had more fun when I was happy with the people that I was around and we were having fun, and I looked at wrestling as a game instead of something that I was gonna win or lose at. So,
Right.
finding
Yeah.
fun throughout the whole process, I think, keeps you in the sport longer, it makes everything more enjoyable, and in turn makes you a better wrestler as
I
well.
love that. Yeah. I think it's so easy. Like I've been coaching for the past 5 years now,
Mhm.
high school girls, and it's so easy for them to get focused on just results.
Yeah.
And it, like, of course, because we set these big
Mhm.
goals, and of course you want to win. Of course you want to
Yeah,
do good
and
things.
that's great, right? Like,
Right.
that's not a bad thing to want
Right.
to win.
Yeah, 100%. But like if you're only focused on those wins, then I feel like
Mhm.
you're so like you go out there and you're just so worried about, okay, if I lose, like
Mhm.
maybe my mom and dad are gonna love me less, or like my friends are gonna judge me, or whatever these
Yeah.
preconceived ideas of are like
Mhm.
of these results. But when you just go out and like go out there and have fun, then you wrestle
Mhm.
to the best of your ability, and then those
Totally.
results start coming. So I think that's
Totally.
such a good piece of advice. I love that.
Thanks. I actually had someone tell me, or I don't know if someone told me this or I came to this
Hmm.
realization myself. It was like, man, if I win, nobody cares. Like,
Yeah.
if I lose, nobody cares. And at first I was like, sorry. At first I was like, oh my gosh, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right. But it was
Yep.
like, no, people care about me, but like no one cares, if you're winning or you're losing. They're
Right.
caring like, are we getting better? Are we a good person? Right. I know
Yes.
you preach that a lot of like,
Yep.
we're an athlete behind, we're a person first and then we're an athlete.
Oh
So
my
like we
gosh,
need to be good
yes.
people. And then we want to be good wrestlers and
Right.
athletes as well.
Right.
So,
I totally agree. Like, I would tell my girls all the time, if
mhm.
at the end of the day you're like a crappy person to be around, then I
Mhm.
have not done my job very good as a coach,
Totally.
because like what's the point? We're not
Yeah.
like you said, it is a game. Like
Mhm.
wrestling is so fun. We want to have goals. You can do so good, but
Mhm.
it's a game.
Yeah.
So like if you're being a crappy person and you're
Mhm.
you're only focused on results, then it's like
Yeah.
I don't care if you're the best wrestler in the world. If you're not a good person,
Totally.
then I don't want to be around you.
Mhm.
And I even told my girls, like, okay, look at this really good wrestler that was on our team. She's awesome. Do we think about that one match that she lost at that one tournament? Like,
No.
nobody
No one
cares.
remembered. Nobody
Nobody
cares.
cares.
Yeah.
So, like, I think we just think that we like have this bigger impact on people than we actually do, which is kind of a sad, like,
Yeah.
makes you kind of step down a little bit, but it's
Mhm.
also like a really good awakening to like, okay,
Yeah.
just some freedom to go out and do my thing. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't end up being perfect, which it's not going to, then you
Yeah.
can just kind of like relax a lot more.
Totally.
Yes, well,
And
I love that.
a
Oh, go
lot of
ahead.
my friends, like, I don't know whatever tournament you won or lost, right? But I
Right,
know that you're good friends. Same
right,
thing. Like, I have lots of friends from all throughout wrestling. I'm like, I can't tell you if she placed first or fifth or
right,
third at the US Open 2 years
right.
ago, but I can tell you how she makes me feel and
Yep,
how nice she is to me and that she checks in on me,
yep,
she
yep.
congratulated me when I was pregnant, things
I
like
love
that, where
that.
it's like that is really what we're here for, why we're here on earth is to, like, make
Exactly.
friends and be happy, and
Exactly.
wrestling is our avenue to do
Mhm.
that.
I love that. That's so
Mhm.
good. I wanna know because I actually feel like I know this story, but it's been a minute, so can you refresh me on how you got started into wrestling?
Yes. So my dad wrestled all
Okay.
throughout high school and college, and he was a coach, and he coached at the high school. And both of my brothers wrestled in middle school, and one of them was in high school. And so one day they were doing signups for wrestling
Yep.
at lunch, and I went over to go see what the table was. And the wrestling coach for the middle school said, "Oh, you're coming to practice tonight, right?"
Nice. Yeah.
And I was like, "I guess so." So
Yep.
I went home and told my mom, "I have to go to wrestling practice tonight."
Mhm.
And she was like, "Oh, are you serious?" No, not actually, but she's like, "I couldn't have one kid that didn't want to
Right.
wrestle."
Right. But you
Um,
feel like overall, like, your parents were pretty supportive of you wanting to try it, like, they
oh
weren't
yeah.
like, "No, honey, like, that's not for you."
Yeah, that wasn't even on my radar.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
it was just like, "I wanna wrestle, so I'm gonna wrestle," and my
Yep.
parents were like, "Okay, let's go."
We're doing it.
So, it wasn't I think there was maybe I was the only girl on my team in middle school
Okay.
when I started, and
Yep.
there would be a girl or 2 that would come to practice for a week or 2, or
Right.
maybe one girl lasted the whole season, but
Sure.
I was the only one that was actually on my team, and it didn't seem weird, and it wasn't
Right.
um, yeah, what I never thankfully, I never experienced the, "Oh, this is a boys thing," you
That's
know?
so nice.
So I
Yeah.
was really supported and by my parents and by all my coaches,
That's so great.
which was really awesome,
I
yeah.
love that because I know that there are a lot of other women athletes that unfortunately didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
And I feel like for the most part, I was pretty supported too. But along the
Mhm.
way, there were definitely coaches that were maybe a little bit more
Mhm.
hesitant to work with me.
Mhm.
Because, same, I was on a boys' team as well, all growing up. And
Yeah.
kind of like you're almost like a spectacle a lot of the times, like when you're
They're
going
like, "What is
around.
she doing
What is
here?"
this? Like, I'm so confused. But
Yeah.
I love to hear that you actually had like a ton of
Mhm.
support from your parents, coaches, the boys,
Yeah.
like, and you didn't have any bad experiences.
Yeah.
So, like, you were in middle school when you started wrestling?
Mhm.
Okay, and then you were high school wrestling was sanctioned in California at that time
Yes.
for girls, right?
Mhm.
So then you went on, I believe you won a state title, right?
I did,
That's
yes. I
awesome.
wrestled, thank you. I wrestled in all through high school, and, my dad was the high school coach for a couple years.
Okay.
And so it's funny, I had someone say like, "Oh, are you worried that your dad's gonna favor you?" And I said, "No. If anything, I have to work harder
Right?
to get his attention,
Yeah,
right?"
seriously.
But, yeah, it was awesome. It was sanctioned, so I remember my first year when I was a freshman, they weren't really sure how I
Mhm.
was gonna stack up. There wasn't a lot of girls tournaments
Okay.
locally, so
Yeah.
I think I went to maybe 1 or 2 tournaments. I had to drive a bit to get
Yep.
there in my freshman year. So I went to JV tournaments, and we quickly realized that I was too good for the JV, and I wasn't quite good enough for the varsity because I was
Okay.
still young.
Yeah, because you started
Um,
in middle school where maybe these girls had been doing
yeah,
it for a little bit longer.
yeah,
Okay.
and so the boys.
The boys okay, so you were at
Yes.
those were the boys tournaments you were going to.
Yes. So I was
Okay.
on a boys team,
Okay.
and so I wrestled with the boys
At the
pretty
high
much
school boy
always.
tournaments.
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
went to the high school boys JV tournaments.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I wasn't quite good enough to wrestle
Yep.
with the varsity boys, but
Yep.
I was better than the JV boys. I
Right.
was kind of in this weird in
Yep.
between.
I get that
And there wasn't a lot of girls tournaments
to go
locally.
to.
So
Okay.
I would go to one, but it'd be a couple hours away, you
Wow.
know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and California's so big too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a couple I went to this one tournament, it was probably 2 hours away, and I won it
Okay.
every year. So,
Nice.
that was the tournament we went to a lot,
Yep.
and as I went on throughout my years, I got better, obviously, so
Uh-huh.
I made the varsity team. So, I would wrestle
Nice.
varsity boys in our
Okay.
dual meets. By the end of my high school career, I
Mhm.
was only wrestling the boys in the dual
Wow.
meets because I was our best.
And how did that go? Like, because I know for me, I was kind of the same, like, once I
Mhm.
got into high school, I
Mhm.
mean, boy strength is just different than girl strength, and I
Yeah.
think that we have to acknowledge that, like,
Oh,
boys
yeah.
and girls are different.
Oh, totally.
And so, like, for me, I mean, same, like, there were some girls' tournaments that maybe had kinda started coming about
Mhm.
where it was just, like, they were
Yeah.
brand new, so it was,
Yeah.
I would say, a little easy, right? And then these boys' tournaments, so, like, you could do better than those JV boys because they
Mhm.
weren't maybe quite there wrestling-wise to be super technical and super strong together.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, those varsity boys can be so strong and, like,
Mhm.
you have to either figure out a way to outquick them, outsmart them, or something, and it was
Mhm.
sometimes really hard to compete with the guys on the varsity level. So,
Yeah.
did you have that same experience?
A little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. There was one boy and it's hard though, I was at the lightest weight. So
Okay,
a
okay.
lot of times it'd be the freshmen, that
Sure.
I would be wrestling that were really good
Yep.
freshmen, but I was a senior at the time, so
A
I
little
had been
different.
wrestling for a bit.
Yep.
So those boys I wrestled, I was very competitive.
That's
There was
awesome.
one boy who was a senior and he was at the lightest weight. He was just a little guy
Yep.
and he was so strong and he was
Yep.
so quick and he was so technical
Yep.
and I got my butt kicked. Every time I wrestled him, he
Yep.
would just kick my butt.
Dang
So,
it.
that it was kind of,
Sure.
I think I probably won 75% of the matches
That's
that I wrestled
awesome.
against boys.
Very cool.
And then all of the postseason was girls. So
Okay.
we had a girls divisionals, a girls divisionals, girls masters,
Mhm.
and girls state. So
Okay.
I won a masters title 4 times actually, which is
Wow,
pretty
look at
awesome.
you. That's
And
exciting.
my dad and I are the first ever
Wow.
father daughter masters champs from the same
Oh.
section, which is kind of fun.
Whoa, that is
Yeah.
so cool.
So
I
that's
didn't
just
know
a fun
that.
little
That's
fact.
so fun.
Yeah,
I
kind
love
of cool.
that. That's
So
awesome.
that's
So,
been
I
that
bet
was
that was
great.
cool to kinda share that with him too, because I
Mhm.
feel like for myself, like, having a dad that was so involved, he wrestled himself too,
Mhm.
and, like, all growing up, and then he's been a coach, and he's been a huge advocate for girls
Yeah.
wrestling in this state, and so
Yeah, he is.
for us yeah, he really is. So for us to kinda, like, be able to share that where I feel like a lot of
Mhm.
dads maybe don't know how to relate to their daughters as
Mhm.
much because maybe they're in, sports that they can't relate to, dance, cheer, whatever
Yeah.
it is, where, like, with wrestling, I feel like my dad and I have a
Mhm.
pretty cool relationship now where
Mhm.
most girl maybe not most, but a lot of girls maybe don't know how to relate to their dad in those
Yeah.
areas, so I love seeing you and your dad. Your dad is, like, the biggest cheerleader for you at
He is.
tournaments. He
Uh-huh.
was even a cheerleader for me at tournaments, which was so sweet of him, but
Yeah.
he's a great coach, and that's so fun you guys got to share that
Mhm.
together. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was really cool. And he definitely is probably my biggest supporter. Like he's
Oh,
my
yeah.
biggest fan in wrestling and probably in life too.
Yeah.
My husband might be trying to beat him out for that top
He's
position,
right
but
there. Yeah.
it's been really cool to like go through life with my
Yep.
dad as my dad and my coach, a
Yep.
little bit of both. And when I won, it was cool when I won my first. So I placed at state all 4 years, and
Okay.
I was in the finals 3 years, and I won
Oh.
once. So I lost
Oh, dang
two
it.
had two had two heartbreaking
Yep.
losses, but when I won, I was like, "I need to find my dad." That was, like, the first
Oh,
person
sweet.
I wanted to go find and celebrate with, so
That's
it was
awesome.
cool.
That's so sweet. Do
Mhm.
you feel like, because I mean, you're coaching now, you're coaching in the state and you're coaching girls,
Mhm.
and you've seen kind of like the growth of even California to where it's at now,
Yeah.
like Utah now where it's at.
Yeah.
It's a big difference from what we were used to growing up to now these
Mhm.
girls have full sanction events. I mean,
Mhm.
there's tons of girls now competing. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's going to keep growing, but like, what's it like to kind of see that change happen?
Yeah. Honestly, even in the last couple years, I've
Yeah.
seen you've probably noticed this.
Yep.
I moved to Utah in 2021 and the
Hmm.
change is crazy because I
Right.
coached a little bit right when I first moved here. But even just the change from the last 5 years is
Right.
insane. So many more girls.
Yep.
It's so cool to see a full girls team. But since we've been we've been in middle school and high school, it
Yep.
is drastically different.
Seriously.
So I think it's so cool. I wasn't a part of a women's team
Right.
until I went to college.
Yep.
So that was just a big difference. And I loved the teams that I was a part
Yep.
of in high school. Those boys have become my brothers.
That's awesome.
But it's just different.
Yep.
And it's different having female coaches, which is
Yep.
really awesome. So I had some really awesome female coaches when I went to college and
That's great.
they kind of have how do I say I've had some awesome female coaches when I was in college, and they just having their influence is just different. I have
Yep.
loved all of my coaches as well, but it's
100%.
a different perspective, and that's
Right.
something that I can recognize is important for
Right.
girls to have. So it's cool that I
Absolutely.
can now be that for girls.
That's so great. I love
Mhm.
that because I totally agree. It's actually like when people talk about the differences of wrestling boys and girls, I
Mhm.
it's actually kind of crazy. Like wrestling boys and wrestling girls is so different. And
Mhm.
even like for myself having so many guy training partners all growing up and even when I was
Mhm.
competing at the open level, it sometimes not that it wasn't beneficial, but it was really great when I was able to get awesome high level
Mhm.
female wrestling partners because
Yeah.
girls and boys just
It's
wrestle
just
so
different.
differently. Like,
Totally.
there's a flexibility aspect that girls have. They move differently, and
Mhm.
boys are a lot more like kind of stiff in their movement and strong. And
Mhm.
it's just so different. And so I
Mhm.
totally think it's so awesome that you were able to have such high level women to be able
Mhm.
to give back to you.
Yeah.
And as much as I've loved like my boy partners and my boy coaches, it's been so fun when you're able to relate to those high level
Mhm.
women. And
Totally.
for you, when you stepped into college, so you went and wrestled at Simon Fraser University in
Mhm.
Canada, which is,
Mhm.
I bet that was so cool.
It was awesome.
How, like, tell me about living in another country for wrestling. How was
Mhm.
that?
So a little before that, I graduated high school,
Yep.
and there was really probably like 30 to 60 teams that
Okay.
had, maybe not even 60. There was
Right.
like 30 to 40, 50 maybe college programs that had
Yep.
women's wrestling. So it was kind of slim pickings
Yeah.
when I was when I was graduating and trying to go to college.
Right.
And I did have offers to run cross country and run track as
Look
well,
at you.
which was really hard. I had to decide what I wanted to do
Yeah.
and where I wanted to go.
Were those, like, just as big sports for you growing up then? Like,
Mhm.
okay, so you did all the
Yeah.
above. Okay,
Yeah,
very
and
cool.
I played soccer since I was little all through high
Wow.
school, and
Yeah.
then, I ran track and I ran cross country, and we actually went to the state meet a couple times in cross country, so
Wow, look at
we
you.
were pretty my high school team was pretty good, I
Yep,
was pretty good,
that's
and
awesome.
I had offers to run as well,
Wow.
so I had to decide what I
Yeah.
wanted to do,
Was that, like,
period.
hard for you?
Yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah.
I had gone on wrestling recruitment
Yep.
trips and, just thinking about what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I actually had this really cool experience. I had been praying, like, where should I go? What should I
Yeah.
do? I don't know. Like, I think I want to wrestle, but I'm
Right.
not sure.
Yep.
And I was reading this book about, I don't even, I'm ashamed, I forget her
It's
name,
okay.
but she's an Olympian and she did the bobsled and she
Oh,
talked about,
wow.
you probably have heard of her. She talked about you train for, what is it, 4 years and
Yep.
you have a quick 6 minute um, competition. And she talked
Right.
about how that's life.
Yep.
Like we train for so long and then we come down to life and we only have like a short time,
Right.
like, right, to experience our life. And it's like,
Yep.
how are we going to make the most out of our life, essentially?
Mhm. I love that.
And I was reading this book and I turned the page and it was like when I was preparing for my Winter Olympics in Vancouver, Canada. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
okay, I think I need to go to Vancouver.
No way.
So that was kind of what helped me make
That
my
is
decision
crazy that that,
to
like,
wrestle.
connection, like, kinda really helped
Yeah.
after you were praying about it, and then you read that book,
Yeah.
and then you're
It
like,
was
"Okay,
crazy. It was like,
well, this is where I wanna
if this
go."
isn't a sign, I don't know what is. So it was
That's
really good.
awesome. Very
So
cool.
I went to school in Canada. It
Okay.
really wasn't that Canada's not that much different than America.
Sure.
Their money's different and I
Right.
had to get a different phone plan,
Yeah.
but everything else is very
Pretty
similar.
similar, yeah.
And it was awesome. I do remember my first couple days of practice, I got my butt kicked. Literally the first 6 months at SFU, I just I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I was like, "Why did they recruit me? I
Right.
don't even know how to wrestle. I'm
Right.
terrible."
Yeah.
And then I started finding the groove and,
Yeah.
getting better, and then I was the one who was beating up on the freshmen
That's
as the years to
awesome.
come.
Yeah.
And I had awesome coaches. I had Olympians and world team members as my coaches and
Wow.
training partners. And
Very
it was just
cool.
a very high level university. And that
Yep.
was what I wanted. I wanted a large university. A lot of the schools at the time were smaller,
Yep.
they didn't have that many students. And SFU had had a lot of girls come out of it that were world team members, Olympians. Helen Marilis went to
Yep.
SFU, Vicky Anthony, Mallory Velty, like lots of really
So many
high
high level,
level.
yep.
Those are just the Americans. Like the
Right.
Canadians are also very high level. So I wanted to go somewhere that I was going to get pushed.
Right.
And I definitely did at SFU.
Oh,
And
I'm
it was
sure.
just the best experience. I'm so glad I went there. I met some of my best friends
That's
and
awesome.
had some really fun adventures. One
Yeah.
thing I really valued
Mhm.
was life outside of wrestling. And
That's so
I
great.
still value that as
Yeah.
well. But in college, I
Yep.
didn't want to go somewhere that if I got hurt, I'd be bummed that that's where I was attending school.
Right. Yeah.
So Vancouver was the place, the social life, and then I loved the outdoor
Right.
aspects of it. And the wrestling program was really great. The major that I wanted was there. So
That's
lots of
awesome.
things kind of lined up to make it feel like it was a really good fit.
That's so nice.
And it was, and I'm so grateful that I went there. I don't know if I would go there now because they are now no longer part of the NCAA
Got it.
starting next year or the
Oh, I
year
didn't know
after.
that. Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of unfortunate,
Yeah, because 'cause
but
they've been so
I
great.
loved it there.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
so awesome. I feel like, so I've had a couple girls, like I said, I've been coaching obviously for a couple years now, and, my seniors, I had a big senior class this year,
Mhm.
And it's so hard when you're trying to, give them direction on where they're supposed to go to college because your senior year can feel very overwhelming. There's lots of different options, and it feels
Mhm.
kind of like, man, I need to figure out what I'm doing for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And there's so much pressure from parents, coaches, so many outside
Yeah.
voices. And so I love that you brought up that for you, it was really important that there were other factors outside of wrestling
Totally.
that drew you to that university. And
Mhm.
I think that's great advice for girls that are looking to go to college because I think you need to recognize that there's not going to be a perfect program.
No.
There are no perfect programs. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, there are
as
even like
nice as that would be.
seriously, like, these amazing now, programs that are in the NCAA or Iowa, like,
Mhm.
all these places that seem like there's gotta be a perfect fit.
Mhm.
I think that they really need to look at places that, like, okay, what is it that you truly wanna focus on? Of course, you wanna
Totally.
get better at wrestling, of course, you have goals, but
Mhm.
do you really wanna connect with the coach? Do you really wanna have teammates that you know? Do you
Mhm.
really wanna go for a specific program? And then
Yeah.
that will help you narrow down where you wanna go
Mhm.
because, like, again, there's no perfect place, but you gotta find what's gonna, like, resonate with you the most. So,
Mhm.
for you being able to go somewhere that you felt valued as a person and then also felt like
Yeah.
you could do things outside of wrestling where you felt like you were enjoying life because you spent
Mhm.
all 4 years there, which is
Mhm.
kinda crazy. Some athletes don't go all 4
Yeah.
years there.
Mhm.
I think that's so awesome that you're able to have a positive experience, and you're a
Mhm.
four-time All-American,
I
so
am.
you did incredible there, which
Thank
is so
you.
cool, and then you transitioned after that, then you started competing at the senior level and the open level,
Mhm.
so kinda give me how you transitioned from Simon Fraser and then kinda what happened after that.
Yeah. That's kind of a convoluted story
It is.
because my 5th year, I was on a 5-year plan
Okay.
because I redshirted. So my 5th year was COVID. So
Oh, shoot.
the end of my 4th year, thankfully, we had slid in and we had our national championships. And
Oh,
then
that's
right
so
before it
nice.
was the week before everything shut down, which was
Wow.
crazy,
Oh, wild.
which the boys didn't have the same because theirs was a week or 2 later,
So
whatever it
sad they
is.
didn't get to have their
I
tournament. So
know.
sad.
So I moved home. Because I was in Canada, they said, "If you can go back to your home country, please do, because we
Okay.
don't know what's going on."
Right.
So I went home and finished my last year, or I went home expecting to come back in the fall,
Sure.
and, then the fall came, or the end of summer came, and it didn't look like anything was gonna be happening.
Right.
So I stayed home and finished my last year online,
Okay.
and then I actually got a job and moved here to Utah.
Yep.
So, I was working marketing at a tech company,
Wow.
and I kind of realized Utah was a little more open, and so I
Sure.
started wrestling, and I started training at the RTC here
Yep.
while working 40 hours a week.
That's a lot.
And yeah, it was a lot. I remember looking back now, I don't know how I did it. I would
Yeah.
wake up at 6 in the morning and work for a couple, like 30 minutes. I had one thing I had to do before I could go to
Yep.
practice. Go to 7 a.m. practice, leave 7 a.m. practice, go straight to work,
Wow.
and I would work from 9:30 to 5, and
Oh my
then
goodness.
get a second workout in, and try to have some semblance of a social
Oh
life.
my gosh. Yeah.
So it was a really fun time, and that summer I made a national team, which
Wow.
is super exciting
Very, very cool.
because that opened up. You were actually there with me
Yes.
when we went to World Team Trials,
Yep.
and it
Which it was
opened up.
so fun being partners with you during that
Yes.
time because
Mhm.
it was so new to me having, like I said, a high level female partner
Yeah.
just because Utah has still been growing. And at the
Mhm.
time, like, I mean, there were some good high school girls that were kind of getting a lot tougher,
Yeah.
but like for you to come in and for me to have
Yeah.
just this
That was
incredible
awesome.
partner, it was so fun.
It worked out so well.
It
Like
really did.
it was so great. I
Yep.
100% agree with that.
That was so fun. So then you went on, you made a national team,
I
which was
did.
so exciting. I love
Yes,
that.
and I feel like that just kinda opened up the world for me in wrestling terms.
Yeah.
I got sponsored by Titan Mercury,
So cool.
which has been such a blessing.
Yep.
They, for those of you who don't know, pay for flights and training camps and tournaments and things
Yep.
like that, just help with the financial
Which
burden
is
of
such a
things.
huge thing. Like, for
Yeah.
athletes that are wanting to go to that
Mhm.
next level, like, that was a goal of mine too, is to get
Mhm.
sponsored, but my life kinda went a little bit of a different
Mhm.
direction. But that's so nice because it really does open up doors for you to be able to travel and go to international camps and
Yeah.
not have to worry so much about, "How am I gonna pay for this?" So,
Totally.
that was such a big thing. I was so happy when you got sponsored,
Thanks.
and from then, like, you got to go on some pretty cool trips,
I
right?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually super awesome. Funny story also, when I got
Mhm.
my job working at a tech company,
Mhm.
I thought I can go to whatever tournaments I want to. That was my first thought. I was like, all
Right.
right, I'm going to get a big girl job with a
Yep.
big girl salary
Yep.
and I can go to whatever I want to
I
do.
love
I'll
that.
have the money, I
Yep.
won't have to ask my parents to help
Right.
pay for things, fundraise,
Love
whatever
that.
it may
You
be.
were a full-on
I was
adult.
an adult. And then I quickly realized that being on a national team working full time, 40 hours a week wasn't going to work because we
Yep.
had camp once a month for a
Right.
week and I was just going to burn through my PTO.
Yep.
So I quit my job and
Okay.
started my own business doing marketing.
Wow, look at you.
So I did that kind of on the side and thankfully I didn't have a lot of expenses, which was
Right.
helpful.
Yep.
And yeah, I got to travel and it was so fun.
I bet.
I went, like I said, we went to the Olympic Training Center
Yep.
often. We went to Iowa for camps. We went all over the country for camps and
Yep.
tournaments. And then um, right in that summer, thankfully, I was like, I want to go to this tournament overseas. So my first tournament that I competed in was in Spain.
Wow.
And it was so fun. And I was like, I want to do this again. This was awesome. So
Very
that was
cool.
kind of the start. And it definitely gave me an itch for wanting to travel
Oh, I
and
bet.
getting to wrestle at the same time.
Yep.
And kind of flash forward to now, I just competed in Sweden.
Which was so cool
Mhm.
because you're now a mom.
I am
So
now a
I
mom.
think
Lots has
we
changed.
need to rewind a little bit because you had a baby. He's now almost 18 months old,
I
McCoy.
did,
He's
yes.
the cutest little guy ever.
He's pretty
Our
fun.
babies are actually playing together right now outside.
Yes.
And you decided to come back to wrestle, which is so
Mhm.
cool. So tell me kind of about why you chose to come back. Was it just like you had that itch and you
Mhm.
just needed to get back into it, or what happened there?
Yeah, so I found out I was pregnant
Yep.
unexpectedly.
Yep.
Actually, right after I gotten home from a competition in
I
France,
remember that.
the Olympic year, which
Crazy.
I was going and training and I did not feel good and
Yeah,
I was late on my period. Just like all these weird things were going on
right.
and I came home and I was pregnant.
That
So
is so
that was some
wild.
wild, unexpected news, not
Yeah,
what I was expecting to
right,
hoping to do in 2024.
right. And
But
do you feel like, because like for myself, I had kind of, made the decision that I was like, okay, my competition is not going the way that I'd wanted it to go, right? And
yeah.
I was like, I just feel strongly that I need to start a family now, and that was kind of the
Mhm.
direction I went. For you, it kind of being an unexpected thing, was that
Mhm.
something that you were like, it was it hard to kind of switch gears, like, and
Yeah.
kind of put your goals maybe on a back burner for a minute?
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely it took a while for me to just kinda just come to terms that I
right.
was going to have a baby.
Yeah,
Because I felt like I was on the up and up. I was doing
sure.
so well. I
Right,
was competing well. I was prepping for Olympic trials, all of these things. So
right,
I kind of got a hard stop and had to shift gears, which was
right.
definitely hard. Looking back now, I would totally do it all
Oh,
over again because
100%.
he's the best thing ever and he
Yes.
brings so much joy and
Yes.
I'm so grateful that he's part of our family.
Oh, yeah.
But
They change your world.
it was jarring at first
Yeah.
and um right after I think before I left for France, I was helping you coach with the middle
Yes, you
school
were.
girls
Yep.
and I was loving that. I was competing and
But you did
coaching.
such a good job. Just
Oh,
gonna
thank you.
plug that
Thank
in there.
you.
You,
Love those
they
girls.
were so sweet. We were trying to get our middle school program rolling, and you were here, and I was like, "Hey, what can I do to get Lauren to come up here and help me coach these girls?" And you did such a good job with them, and they
Thank
loved you,
you.
and
Yes.
the next year when we were trying to find another coach since you weren't doing it, it was always, "This isn't Lauren. Lauren's not doing
Aw.
it." And so
That's
just so you know,
cool.
those girls loved you and you did an awesome
Aw.
job. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank
Keep
you.
going.
Thank you. I loved those girls too. But I was coaching and I really liked it. And so I came home from the tournament and the competition and found out I was pregnant
Yep.
and was still coaching. And it was cool to still be in it. And
Right.
it was just kind of a continuation. And then I got asked if I wanted to come coach for Champions.
Yep.
The middle school girls season had ended and Champions
Which is a
Wrestling
club
Club.
program here. Yep.
It's all year long. So I
Yep.
started coaching there and my belly got bigger and bigger as I got more names down in my head.
Yep.
And it was so fun, and I really loved coaching. And I ran some clinics with you and
Yep.
some camps, and it just was so fun. I loved giving back in a way that I had never been able to do really
Yep.
before because I was always focused on myself.
For
So it was
sure.
fun to kind of obviously the focus is not on my career because I'm
Right.
actively growing this little baby.
Absolutely.
So it was so fun to kind of give back and get to coach, and I really, really loved coaching.
Mhm.
And I had my baby, took some time off of coaching and then I started coaching again, and
Mhm.
I felt the itch.
Yep.
And I was like, "Why do I feel like this? Like, I kinda wanna wrestle, I don't know." And so
Mhm.
I would wrestle with the girls a little bit and the
Right.
boys, like, kinda jump in here and there.
Yep.
And, one day I was like, "Well, is this something that I wanna do?" And my husband and I had a conversation about it, and he was like, "Well, you need to decide if this is something that you wanna do."
Right.
And so I had some friends and mentors that had had babies and come back to competition.
Yeah.
One of them was a good friend of mine and coach, Sarah McMahon. She's
Yes.
Olympic silver medalist, and she fought in MMA for a long time.
She's amazing.
So, when I moved
Yep.
home during COVID, she was actually one of my coaches. So, I
Wow.
called her and I was like, "Sarah, I need your advice. How do
Yeah.
I know if I wanna wrestle again?" And
Right.
she gave me some great advice. She said, "If even just a little bit of you wants to wrestle, you I think you need to.
Oh, that's sweet.
Because you don't wanna look back years from now and say, like, 'Why didn't I just try? Why didn't I
Right.
do it?'"
Especially when you
So
still have the ability to, like,
yeah.
you stayed in great shape and you're able to get back
Mhm.
into things, which I'm sure was probably challenging, like,
Yes.
knowing how my body feels after
Yeah.
having a baby, it's just completely different. So, I mean,
Totally.
kudos to you for being willing to hop back
It
in
was
and
hard for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
I felt like I was starting at literally ground zero. I
Mhm.
felt like I had never been that out of shape.
Oh
I
my
felt
gosh,
like I
yeah.
had never not been that strong, right?
Right.
Even because you start at a young age and you take time off and here and
Sure.
there. I had never had a major surgery and never had to
Sure.
take a substantial amount of time completely off.
Right.
You work out your arms if your legs are hurt, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
But I felt like I was starting at 0 and I was like, "This is hard."
So
So
hard.
I took it really slow. I
Yep.
know some people, at 6 weeks, which is when you're technically
Cleared,
cleared,
yep.
they hop back into it, but I didn't feel right
Yep.
getting back into it so quickly, so I took a long time. I really wasn't full on working out until probably 6 months,
Wow, yeah.
which is what my body needed. So I'm so
Yep.
glad that I listened to my body and just did what I felt was right for me
That's so good.
because I think if I would have rushed into it, I might not have felt like I wanted to compete again or
Yeah,
whatever it may have been.
absolutely.
So,
Which
it
is
was
hard
definitely hard,
because
but
I
it was
feel like
good.
the, like, media really makes you feel like you have to, like, jump back into things right after you have
Mhm.
a baby, regardless of whether or not you're doing a sport or
Yeah.
not, like,
Yeah.
I feel like women in general, it's just, like, expected that after you have a baby, you should bounce back immediately,
I
and you should be
know.
doing all the same things that you were doing before, and it's just, like, it's
No
an eye
way.
opener that you need to be able to listen to your own body, like,
Mhm.
we need to not compare ourselves to other women and what
Totally.
they're doing, and a lot of stuff on social media isn't even
Yeah.
real anyways, where it's
Yeah.
like, I love that you took the time to actually heal your body,
Mhm.
spend time with your baby, and then, like
Mhm.
you said, you were able to kind of, like, take that time you needed to where you were
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, I think
Yeah.
I can do this. I can get back into it and
Totally.
start doing it again." Then you
Mhm.
just competed in Sweden. You went to
Mhm.
an international camp there. How
Mhm.
did you feel kinda competing for the first? It was that your first time?
Yeah, that was
First
my
time.
first competition back, and it had been almost exactly 2 years. So,
Wow.
it was January of 2024, that was
Yep.
the last time I competed, and then it was February of 2026. So,
Wow.
it was almost exactly 2 years, and I was so excited, just, like, really excited to get back into I had been training hard,
Right.
and I wanted to see kind of how I stacked up in a live situation,
Sure.
and because you can simulate tournaments as well as you can, but nothing
Right.
quite compares to a real tournament.
Actual competition,
So
yeah.
it was good. I definitely made some mistakes
Sure.
and I was just brushing the cobwebs off,
Yep.
but the training camp was really awesome. And when I was in Spain, my first ever training competition in camp
Yep.
or training camp and
Training camp and
competition.
because they combine. So, like,
Yeah.
for our guests that wouldn't know that yet, at when you're at the senior level, they usually do these camps that go on for, like, a week, but also
Mhm.
competition too.
Yeah. So
Yep.
you'll go for a competition and then stay for the camp, which you just get the most out of
So cool.
being there, which is
Yeah.
great.
Getting to
Um,
wrestle with international people, their styles are so
yeah,
different, how
very
they train
different.
is different. I feel like you learn
Mhm.
so much from those.
Totally, and that first one in Spain, I got my butt kicked so much. I was trying so hard, and they're very intensive
Yep.
and high volume, and I thought it was so hard, but it was
Yeah.
so fun, and I wanted to come back and get better. And this tournament in Sweden and the camp after, I felt like I was the one of the stronger ones, which was so cool to see kind of full circle in the
Right.
last 3 years, 4
I love
years
that.
of how I've gotten better, especially now I've come back. I have my mom's strength.
Yes, it's real.
So I it was very exciting to be like, "Oh, I can 1, still hang with these girls.
Yep.
2, I'm actually beating some of these girls. And 3, like, I feel good. I'm
Right.
excited to be here." So it just felt really good. I was
That's so great.
invigorated
I love
in
that.
going forward in my competition and training.
That's so good. So do you feel like like moving forward now, of course you've got this sweet little human you gotta
Mhm.
take care of, and then you're balancing your wrestling goals.
Mhm.
What is your kind of goal as you're coming back into things? Do you have
Mhm.
a plan for like what you're wanting to accomplish? And do you have like an idea of how long you want to keep doing it for? Like where are you
Mhm.
at with that?
We're just taking it day by
I
day.
love
We're
it.
seeing how it goes. I
Yep.
told myself when I came back, I was gonna come back on my
Yep.
terms, and I was gonna leave on my terms, and I wanted to have fun with it.
Yep.
I wanted to compete again, I wanted to travel internationally
Mhm.
again, hang see my friends that I hadn't seen, in a
Yep.
competition atmosphere, and I'm just having fun with
Just
it.
having
So we're
fun.
just gonna see where it takes me.
So what's your next tournament?
The next competition I have is the US Open in
So
April
fun.
in
Yep.
Las Vegas, which is the kind of beginning of the senior level postseason.
Right. So,
So,
for example, for, those listeners that might be new to wrestling, if you
mhm,
were to go to the open and do well, kind of
mhm,
your next steps of making a national team and what that looks like since you've done it
mhm,
before, for people that are maybe shooting for that goal, what does that look
mhm.
like?
So typically it may change, like they
Mhm.
try to keep it the same every for a quad,
Yep.
an Olympic quad,
Yep.
but it can change. As of now, you compete at the Open,
Mhm.
which then qualifies you for World Team Trials,
Yep.
and then which then goes to Final X, which is the deciding competition for the world team member.
Okay.
So based off of that, the placings of how you do in World Team Trials and Final X, all of those things, 1, 2, and 3 are on the national team.
Got it.
So top 3 at each weight class. Depending on the year, there are some complications with um, Olympic medalists or world medalists may sit out for a later time in the tournament.
Okay.
So it can get complicated there, but
Sure.
essentially by the end of those 3
Those 3
tournaments,
tournaments.
whoever's top 3 is going to be on the national team.
Very cool.
And they get to go to national team camps. They're invited and they get to compete for Team USA,
Very cool.
which is also very exciting. Since I haven't I'm not on a national team currently
Yep.
because I had a baby.
Sure.
You're still in the pool, so I'm still invited to come to some things.
Very cool.
I maybe not a I may not be able to go to everything,
Right.
right? Like they might give preference to 1, 2, and 3, but
Absolutely.
4, 5, 6, 7, whatever down the line
Yep.
also can do things that if
Kinda get
they
invited for,
asked.
like, some
Mhm.
partners and stuff too along the
Yeah.
way. Very cool. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
I feel like that's such a it's good for people to kinda know that process
Mhm.
so that, like, if they're shooting for making a team one day, that those are kind of the steps that you would take, but there's also age level teams that you can make for
Yes.
your high
Mhm.
school, your middle school girls, because I think it would be called U15 now, it was cadet
Mhm.
prior,
Yeah.
but made a cadet team and got to kinda do the international travel, the
Yeah.
camps, and those are some of my fondest memories looking back
Mhm.
of, like, being able to experience culture outside of the
Yeah.
United
It's so
States.
different.
It's so different, and it's so fun that, like, your sport that you were good at, that you earned this
Mhm.
spot, you got to go travel the world and do things that these
Mhm.
other kids don't get to do, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so amazing that you're able to make a senior national team and get to travel and make all these friends and that you're still
Mhm.
in it as somebody that's had a baby, like, I don't know if everybody knows how challenging that is to be able to have a baby and come back and then still give to the sport in coaching, in competing.
Mhm.
It seriously is amazing because 'cause you're doing that all right now. You're being a
Mhm.
mom, you're coaching, you're competing, so what is that like balancing everything right
Yeah.
now?
I am very well planned.
You
My
gotta
weeks
be.
are penciled in.
Yep.
So, before I decided to come back to wrestling, I was
Mhm.
coaching 3 to 4 days a week, and it
Okay.
was so fun. I really liked it. Obviously, that has scaled back because I need to
Sure.
practice myself.
Right.
So I am practicing on some days. I'm coaching on some days. Um, I have babysitters and agreements, arranged so that McCoy is taken care of,
Yep.
either with my husband or someone else. And it's definitely been hard. It was
Sure.
very hard initially, and honestly, I remember talking with my husband saying like this is almost so overwhelming, just the idea of everything that needs to be
Yep.
taken care of,
Right.
that I don't almost don't even want to start. And he was
Sure.
like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like if this is something you really want to do, there's
Yep.
hundreds of people who we could find to watch McCoy,
That's so nice, yeah.
which has been
What a
super
supportive
awesome."
husband, I love that.
He is a supporter. He gets
That's so
husband
great.
of the year for
Yes,
sure.
good job, Zach.
So it's been really good, but it's been so awesome,
Mhm.
and I have been supported in so many ways and helped by lots of people
Yeah.
in my village for sure.
Right.
When I went to Sweden, thankfully my husband was so great to take McCoy, and
Yes.
he and my parents kind of tag teamed watching him,
Oh, that's so great.
and it's been so great, and it's so doable.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard, but
Right.
it's very doable.
Right, absolutely. I
Mhm.
feel like I kinda got some of that this last year too, because I was coaching a
Mhm.
high school team with, I mean, he was 9
Yeah.
months at the time,
Yeah.
and I mean, I just have so much more respect now for mothers everywhere
Yes.
that are balancing, jobs or, all these
Mhm.
different responsibilities that they have, and I felt the same way, just very grateful for the people that were willing to
Mhm.
step in and help
Yeah.
how they could,
Mhm.
and allow me to continue to do what I love to do and give back how I
Yeah.
wanted to give back. And
Mhm.
so I think that's really great knowing that there are people out there that,
Mhm.
you can have a baby and you can still get back into it. You can still do a
Yeah.
really great job. Or there are other ways that you can still be involved, like myself,
Mhm.
where it was coaching, or this
Yeah.
podcast where I'm wanting to be like a resource for girls to be able to look
Yeah.
to. And I think that sometimes our goals have to shift along the way. Like
Mhm.
for me, I had, of course, a goal of making national teams, and you always set out and you want to be the best that you can be. And
Mhm.
I think God sometimes has a different plan for us.
Yeah.
And for myself, it was like, okay, how can I still serve and give back in a way that is
Mhm.
meaningful? And I love wrestling and I want to be involved. So
Mhm.
um, I think being able to adjust along the way and kind
Yeah.
of go with the flow of what you originally
Mhm.
set out to do, because us as women, like we want to have kids and you want to
Hmm.
be a good wife and whatever it is. But
Mhm.
I think sometimes people make it seem like you can't do everything. And
Yeah.
you're a great example of being able to do so many different things, which is so,
That's
so cool.
funny.
I'm so proud of you. And it's been so fun
Thank
to
you.
watch you be able to balance everything.
Thanks.
What would be your advice to somebody that is trying to manage, like, whether
Mhm.
it's a student athlete and you're managing a job
Yeah.
and your wrestling goals and all these different
Totally.
things? How do you do it all? Like, is it just a schedule or what is it?
That's funny that you say that I'm doing all these things. Tell that to my mom. My mom used to say, "You can't do everything,"
Right.
and I'm gonna say, "Actually, you can't.
You
No,
can't.
not actually." I would say the biggest thing, like you said, is that adjustment. Like,
Right.
you can't be so rigid in what has to happen, right? That
Yeah.
you have no flexibility for real life.
Right.
So even before I had McCoy, right, stuff comes up, things
Yep.
happen. Maybe you're just not feeling it that day, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Like I think you've probably heard the analogy of like, what do you have in the tank, right?
Yep.
If you have 50% in the tank and you give 50%, you gave 100% for that day, right?
Right.
If you have 100%, but you only gave 50%, you didn't give your all for what you had, right?
Right.
And there has definitely been days where a babysitter has fallen through, or McCoy has just not, he just wants his mom, and
Yep.
I can't go. So
Sure.
you just kind of take it with stride and
Right.
realize that like you're going to do the best with what you have and
Yeah.
with the resources that you have, and you got to adjust, and you got
Yeah.
to find ways to get a workout in later or do something different. And so I
Yeah.
think that adjustment is huge of like
Right.
what yeah, like you said, whether you're a student athlete or you're working and you're trying to wrestle and be at the highest level. I had
Yep.
friends, and we would go to national team camp and they'd have to work in between sessions, right? Because they had a
Right.
full-time job. That was how
Absolutely.
they paid for their life. And if you're dating, right, like you have to find balance between your social life and your
Sure.
wrestling, and so I think like, just doing the best with what you have, right?
Yep.
Someone said, like, "These are the dice that you've rolled,
Mhm.
and how are you gonna go forward?" Like,
Right.
you sometimes can't change the circumstances that you're in or your
Yep.
situations or your financial whatever it may be,
Right.
how much time you have in the day, all of
Absolutely.
that. Like, you need to just figure it out and change and do the best with what you have. And also, I think what you prioritize is what you're gonna
Oh,
make
yeah.
time for.
Yep.
One thing I will say over and over again is it drives me crazy when someone said like, "Oh, I don't have time for that."
Right.
Because you have time for what you make time for.
Exactly.
So
That's
if it's
so good.
important to me that I get a workout in, I need to make time for that. I need
Absolutely.
to put that in first, right? If it's important for me to spend time in nature or spend time reading my scriptures or time in prayer or
Right.
whatever it may be,
Yep.
I need to make that a priority.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
for me, it's a priority that I am physically getting the workouts that I need, but it's also a priority that I'm spending time with my son and my
Yeah.
husband, and I'm spending time outside, and I get to
Right.
shower and
Yep.
eat. I'm fueling my body correctly. So
Right.
all of these things, like I'm prioritizing them in my
Absolutely.
day, and then that in turn makes it so that I am prioritizing them throughout my life
Right.
and my wrestling career and all of that.
I
So
love that, and I think it's really important. I wanna go back to kinda what you brought up with, like, the balance and kind of giving yourself some grace with, like,
mhm.
I think so much as women, we're such perfectionists. Like, I've
Mhm.
noticed this so much with being a coach to female
Oh, yeah.
athletes that everybody just wants to be perfect all the time and have a perfect schedule and everything go the way that it's supposed to
Good
go.
luck with
Yes,
that, I
seriously,
wish.
I know. And so just like you were saying where you had babysitters fall through and it doesn't
Mhm.
always look perfect, I think
Mhm.
the more that you can get into the mindset of consistency over
Yeah.
perfection,
Mhm.
um, and also giving yourself grace on those days when your body
Mhm.
doesn't feel good, like,
Yeah.
maybe that means you need to take some more recovery,
Yeah.
and also, like, when your schedule's not lining up, when you have to prioritize things outside of wrestling, I
Mhm.
think as much as you can give your 110% to wrestling in those places of,
Mhm.
"Okay, yes, I'm gonna schedule out time where I'm gonna get my morning run in, I'm gonna get these extra
Mhm.
workouts in, I'm gonna do some mental stuff on the side," whatever
Yeah.
you gotta do, but also recognizing that it's not gonna be perfect all the time and then
Yeah.
not beating yourself up over,
Totally.
like, not having this perfect experience.
Yeah.
Because I just recognize that my girls a lot of the time would beat themselves up if they weren't doing everything perfectly, and it was like, "It's not gonna be perfect." Like, you
Yeah.
just gotta keep going with it and find your balance and find your consistency,
Yeah.
and you're such a good example of that,
Thanks.
and I'm so excited that you've done such a good job with being a coach, being a mom, being an athlete, like, I was
Mhm.
so excited to have you on here just because you've done so well with all of that stuff, and it's not easy to manage
Mhm.
everything, and, are there any parting words that you have for us that you would love to tell to
Mm.
girls watching this that are just starting in the sport, that have
Mhm.
maybe goals or don't even know what's out there for them yet?
Mhm.
What would you tell those girls?
I would say the biggest thing is you have to find someone you look up to,
I love
right?
that.
Find someone. Thankfully, we're at a point now in wrestling where you could probably find someone who looks like you
Yep.
or who acts like you or has the same body type or
Right.
is from your hometown, right? There's so
Sure.
much diversity now in women's wrestling. Like you can find someone or find multiple people, and it doesn't have to
Absolutely.
be a woman, it can be a man, right?
Sure.
That you look up to and that you want to aspire to be and see what they do and follow them. And that might be a famous wrestler. That might
Yep.
be your teacher at school. That might be your mom or your dad or
Right.
your coach.
Right.
So I think finding those people to look up to is really important. And then asking questions. I always say that like no one got to be where they were without asking
Oh,
questions, right?
100%.
We
Yep.
are the only reason we know anything is because we asked, right?
Right.
Or someone told us maybe.
Right. Yeah.
But okay to be look silly doing something. It's okay to
Yeah.
not know what you're doing because we've all been there. So
Right.
I would say ask questions and if you have a goal, like, you can do it.
I love that.
I think, like, we should never limit ourselves. Something my husband told me after we had our baby, he was like, "I hope you can take what just happened
Right.
and apply it to your life of, like, you can do anything."
Yeah,
And
seriously. I
and I
love
think, like,
that.
our potential is unlimited, and
Yeah.
so I think leaning into that of like, we can do anything we set our minds to,
Right.
like, if we are disciplined enough, if we prioritize it,
Yep.
if we are fueling our body correctly, all
Right.
of these things, like, if we want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy,
Right.
but if that's something that you really want and you really desire, I say go for it
I love that.
and find people to help you along your way.
That's so great. Well,
Mhm.
it has been so fun chatting with you for the past
Mhm.
45 minutes. You've been amazing, and I'm going to link all of your socials so that if there are anybody that wants to follow along on your journey, watch you wrestle at the Open, they'll be able to.
Thank
But
you.
thanks so much for being my very first guest, and I
Yay!
am just so excited for your future. Thank you
Thanks.
so much, girl.
Thanks for having me.
1, 2,